Okay, so this lesson is now subtracting polynomials, and really it's just like one extra step on top of the adding polynomials that we did yesterday. So this is lesson 6.5, subtracting polynomials. If we're doing this algebraically, all we're going to do is, our first step is to change this center minus sign to a plus sign. So that is going to become a plus. And then the symbol of every term in the second bracket needs to change to its opposite symbol. So for example, because this is a positive 3x squared, I need to make it negative. Because this is positive 4, that also needs to become negative. And because this is a minus 6x, that will become positive. Once I have done that, once I've changed my center sign and all the signs of the terms in the second polynomial, then I just add like normal. So we follow the same steps that we did yesterday with adding. So we ignore the brackets and gather our like terms. So I'm going to get my x squareds to the front. So I'll do my minus 4x squared, then my minus 3x squared, then my positive 3x, then this positive 6x, then my positive 6, and lastly, my negative 4. Now I have all of my like terms, which I'm just going to add or subtract together in order to simplify. So negative 4x squared minus 3x squared is going to give me negative 7x squared. Positive 3x plus 6x is positive 9x. And then positive 6 minus 4 is positive 2. And that's your final answer. So really just one extra step on top of the addition we did yesterday. The first polynomial is going to stay the same for that first step. Your center sign changes from a minus to a plus, and then every term in the second bracket has its sign changed from positive to negative or negative to positive. Now, when it comes to solving with modeling, this is actually a fair bit trickier when we're subtracting comparing to when we're adding. So I actually wouldn't recommend subtracting with models. I would recommend just doing it algebraically. But here's the steps if you do want to do it. So you only draw the first polynomial. You're not going to draw both polynomials. Then you're going to take away the tiles from the first polynomial that appear in the second polynomial. If the tiles in the second polynomial aren't in the first polynomial, then you draw in their opposite. So let's go through an example of what I'm talking about. Okay, so I've given you the example 4x squared minus 3x plus 1, subtract 2x squared plus 6x minus 5. So our first step is to draw the first polynomial. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 of my x squared boxes. And then I'm going to have 3 of the negative x's. So that is 1, 2, 3, and then 1 positive constant. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my second polynomial, and any of the terms that are in the second polynomial have to get taken away from what I've drawn. So I have a 2x squared. I need to take that away from the 4x squareds I have here. So I'm just going to cancel out 2 of the x squareds. Then I get to positive 6x. So I need to take away 6 positive x's. But there are no positive x's here. And so instead, I need to draw in their opposite. So I draw in 6 negative x's instead. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then lastly, I have negative 5, so 5 negatives. Once again, I don't have any negative ones over here, so I can't take away 5 of them. Instead, I'm going to have to draw in their opposite. So I'm going to have to draw in 5 positives. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we just read whatever we have there. So I have 2 positive x's, so 2x squared. I have 9 negative x's, so negative 9x, and then 6 positive ones, so plus 6. And that would be your final answer. The last thing that we're going to do today is show you how to deal with some word problems. So in this example, I've said Justice has $270 before he bought a bunch of donuts for $2 each. Robert, who had $126, bought the same number of donuts, but for $3 each. Write a polynomial to represent how much more money Justice has than Robert. So what I would recommend is start by writing 2 separate polynomials, one for the amount of money that Justice is going to have, and one for the amount of money that Robert is going to have. So we're going to start 2 separate polynomials. So for our Justice polynomial, he starts off with $270, and then because he is spending $2 per donut, we are going to subtract $2 to show that he's losing that money. And then because we don't know how many donuts it is, we're going to represent that with a variable. So it could be an X, it could be a D, whatever you want. So his $270 minus the $2 per donut. We're then going to do the same thing for Robert. So he had $126. Then he spent, so subtracting for spending, spent $3 per donut. So those are the 2 separate polynomials. Then we have to combine those into one polynomial that shows how much more money Justice has than Robert. So what we're looking for is the difference in money between Justice and Robert. Anytime we're looking for a difference, that means that we are subtracting. And because it tells us that Justice is going to have more money than Robert, we are going to take Justice's amount and subtract Robert's amount. It would be like if I said Justice has 10 apples, Robert has 8. How many more does Justice have than Robert? You would just do 10 apples minus 8 apples is 2 apples. Justice has 2 apples more than Robert. Same kind of idea, but we're using polynomials instead of simple numbers. So I'm just going to take Justice's amount, 270 minus 2x, and subtract Robert's amount. Okay, and then that is our final polynomial. Again, we start with Justice because it says that we're representing how much more money Justice has. So whoever or whatever amount is more, that means it goes first. Then because we are finding a difference in amount, that is why we're subtracting. And then whatever we are comparing it to, so whoever has less is going to have the second polynomial. Okay, now what we want to do is, because it asked for a single polynomial, right now this is still kind of just subtracting 2 polynomials, we need to simplify this. So when we are simplifying a polynomial, we're just going to follow our normal subtraction rules. So our center minus sign gets changed to a plus sign. This is a positive 126, so it is going to become a negative 126. And then our negative 3x becomes a positive 3x. We don't touch the first polynomial, only the second one. And then we're just going to ignore the brackets and gather our like terms. We're going to put our x's at the front because they have a higher degree than our constants. So I'm going to start by moving this negative 2x to the front. Remember, signs always go with the term behind them. So negative 2x, then my positive 3x, and then my positive 270, and then the negative 126. Now we have our like terms. So we just add them together. Negative 2x plus 3x is just 1x. And then 270 minus 126 is positive 144. So the final answer is that Justice has more money than Robert. The amount more is x plus 144. So the number of donuts they bought plus 144. Okay, that is it for today's lesson.